Hi guys! It's me, your teacher Belle, and welcome to my channel. For this video, I will discuss owner's equity. So we will define and identify the different components of this major account. Let's begin with the definition of owner's equity. Owner's equity is the owner's claim to company assets after all of the liabilities have been paid off. In other words, class, owner's equity is the net difference between total assets and total liabilities. So the assets of the business class, ito yung ipambabayad dun sa utang or liabilities nito. And once may natira pang assets yung business, yan na yung share ng owner nito. And that share of the owner class, that is the owner's equity. Owner's equity class represents ownership. Kasi nga nandito sa account na to, yung claim ng owner. And that claim class can be found in the owner's capital account. Owner's capital account class is increased by additional contribution of the owner. Yan, kung nag-reinvest yung owner. And also, it will be increased by the recognition of business net income. Yan, kung merong profit yung business. While it will be decreased if the owner withdraw or kukuha ng pera or other assets yung owner dun sa business. And also, it will be decreased by the recognition of business net losses. In net losses class, yung business merong negative profit or walang kita. Lugi yung business class. We also have the owner's drawing account. The owner's drawing account class is used when withdrawal is made by the owner to determine total withdrawals for each accounting period. Nandito sa account na to, class, yung mga withdrawals ng owner. Or yung kinuhang pera or other assets ng owner dun sa business. That is withdrawal class. Now let's have the components of owner's equity. So we have 4 components of the owner's equity. At na-discuss na nga natin yung dalawa, the owner's capital and the owner's withdrawals account. Now let's have the revenues and expenses. So mahalaga itong revenues and expenses class to determine if the business earned net income or profit or kumita nga ba yung business or it incurred net loss or yun nga, nalugi yung business. Now let's have the revenues. Revenues class are the earnings arising from the main line of operations of the business. And we have 4 examples of revenue accounts. These include the service revenue, the interest income, sales, and the professional fees. For service revenue, this refers to the earnings made by any business that is into rendering services. So, yung main line of operation ng business dito sa service revenue is the rendering of services. Except class yung mga services na binibigay ng mga professionals class kasi ibang type of revenue na yun. And we will discuss it later. An example of this service revenue class is the revenue earned by a beauty parlor. So, yung bayad ng mga nagpagupit or nagpa-manicure and pedicure, these are the service revenue of the beauty parlor or the business. For interest income, this represents interest credited by the bank to the account of the business arising from bank deposits. So, this income naman class nakuha ng business from its bank deposits or yung pera na nilagay niya dun sa bank. So, while nandun yung pera class, it earned interest. Yan, tumubo yung pera ng business. And that tubo class or interest, that is the interest income. For sales, it represents the earnings made by any business that is into selling goods or merchandise. Dito naman class, yung main line of operation ng business is the selling of goods or merchandise. For example, yung grocery, So, yung bayad ng mga namimili sa grocery class are the sales of the business. And lastly, for professional fees, it represents earnings made by professionals or experts from rendering services to their clients. For example, class, yung mga law firms or yung mga private hospitals. So, yung bayad sa kanila ng mga clients nila for their services such as yung check-ups ng mga doctors or yung pag-handle ng mga cases ng mga lawyers. Yun na yung professional fees. Now, let's have the expenses. Expenses class are the cost being incurred by the business in generating revenues. So, nandito sa expenses class, yung mga nagastos ng business para sa operation nito. And we have 8 examples of expenses. These include, but not limited to, the utilities expense, the salaries expense, the wages expense, the taxes and licenses, the cost of sales, the supplies expense, the doubtful accounts expense, and the depreciation expense. For utilities expense, this refers to costs associated with the usage of electricity, water, and communication for a particular accounting period. For example, class, yung binabayaran ng business sa Layeco, sa Prime Water or LMWD, as well as yung internet ng business, yung landline. So, all of this class are utilities expense of the business. For salaries expense, ito yung sweldo class ng mga permanent or full-time employees ng business. Yung mga employees na nagtatrabaho for 8 hours, yan yung mga full-time employees. So, yung natatanggap nilang sweldo every month or minsan quincenas, these are the salaries expense of the business. Wages expense class, ito yung sweldo naman na nakukuha ng mga part-time employees. So, this part-time employees class, binabayaran sila ng business based on the number of hours ng kanilang trabaho or di kaya based on the outputs na kanilang nagawa. For the taxes and licenses, this represents costs incurred to register the business, to acquire the right to operate, and to settle taxes. So, these licenses class or the permits like this DTI, the business must pay them first before it starts its operation. Taxes naman class, ito yung binabayaran ng business sa government through BIR in exchange for the service na i-provide ng government sa business. For the cost of sales, this refers to the cost of merchandise or goods that were sold during a particular accounting period. In other words, class, cost of sales are the expenses incurred by the business on its production. Supplies expense naman, class, ito yung expense na na-incurred ng business sa paggamit ng mga office supplies. For example, yung ball pens, pen papers, and the other office supplies. For doubtful accounts expense, this is an estimation of the amounts that the business proposed to be uncollectible. Or yung mga accounts receivables class na sa tingin ng business, hindi na nila makokolekta. So, they will identify those accounts receivables as doubtful accounts expense. Lastly, we have the depreciation expense. Depreciation expense class, these are incurred by the business on its PPEs or property, plant, and equipment. Yung mga non-current assets nito, except sa land. So, the other non-current assets like the equipments, buildings, so these are all depreciable or nababawasan yung value nila. Kasi nga, as time goes by, syempre, itong mga PPE naluluma. For example, itong nasa picture, this is a depreciated PPE class. Kasi luma na siya. Habang naluluma yung PPE or property, plant, and equipment, nababawasan yung value niya. At yung binawas na value na yon, that is the depreciation expense. That will be all for this video. I hope you learned something from this discussion class. But still, thank you for listening and see you on our next discussion.